A very good evening to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on a Monday night, the West Ham Weekly. It's been quite a while since I've done a weekly show, so probably an awful lot of people have forgotten that I do one. But I hope you're all well. I hope you're all keeping well. I hope you're not getting too wound up with all the news coming out at West Ham United at this moment in time. I'd like to say all will be all right, and I think all will be all right. But boy, oh boy, do we leave it late. It's quite ironic, isn't it, that during a transfer window, usually we've got David Sullivan to blame for all the slowness and not going after targets, losing out to other clubs for targets, and so on and so forth. And yet, who do we have to blame this time? Some people have started to point the finger at Daniel Kretinsky. Some people are asking what Niels Koppen is doing to earn his money. And some people are just saying, well, this is usual West Ham United. We never get our act together regardless. And we just thought, didn't we? We thought when Daniel Kretinsky and Vanessa Gold put out that statement back on the 12th of June after David Sullivan had resigned from the board, we all thought this was the start of a new dawn. But alas, there's always something that comes up to, just remind us that we're living in the real world. We're living in a West Ham world. And living in a West Ham world doesn't always go to plan. And lo and behold, yet again, there's a fly that's flying around my head that's really doing my head in. But yet again, we find ourselves under a week away from our first game of the season, albeit in the Carabao Cup, but just under 2 weeks away from our first league game against Burnley away. And we're nowhere near ready, are we? We're nowhere near ready. We've got a lot of targets. I'm going to speak to you about a few of them, and the ones that I think are more likely than the others. But of course, it's all about what's going on off the field yet again that we find ourselves embroiled in. And there's been so much talk. I mean, this is probably the fourth show I've done just on Amanda Staveley and the West Ham board. And I don't want to be doing them, to be quite honest with you. I want to move on. I want to be able to talk about other things. I want to talk about players that we've signed. I want to talk about how we look in pre-season. We don't look great. We haven't had that fantastic a pre-season. We haven't lost, but we haven't looked great. And if we're going to be drawing our way through the season, we're not going to go up, are we? I do think, even with the squad we have, we'll probably just about make playoffs. But that's about the best we can ask for, because in all honesty, in all honesty, that's probably all we've got to really look forward to. We're certainly not going to win the league. We're certainly not going to come second at this moment in time. But, as the season carries on, as the transfer window, I keep reminding myself, as the transfer window comes to a close, and we've still got a month to go for that, we will get players in. Let's hope we don't panic and we get the players that are going to be worthy of wearing the West Ham shirt, and players that are going to be good enough to take us back up to the Premier League. But it's all off the field shenanigans that we start off with tonight. Now, I don't know where I want to start, really. I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to talk about Staveley, because the interview that she had with Bloomberg today. Oh, wrong one. Let's take that off, and that's what I want. The interview that she had today in the Bloomberg magazine, I think it was, kind of gave us a clear indication of where the land lies, pun intended, with regards to the Staveley offer. Look, I personally think that the Staveley offer is ill-timed. Now, you could argue all you want, everyone knew about it and we knew it was coming, etc., etc. But I'm going to try and talk a little bit about the logic of why it happened now and why things didn't happen sooner, or even before Daniel Kretinsky put out that statement that he'd made an agreement with Vanessa Gold. So, but the interesting thing today is the Bloomberg, an episode of Bloomberg's Leaders with Francine Lacroix, recorded before West Ham confirmed. This was recorded before West Ham had confirmed the agreement with Gold. So it wasn't today. This was done some time ago. And the statement that she made, which is kind of sticking out to everybody, is we won't just do a football-led bid. We just want a challenge, and that's what excites me. That's where you get the value uplift when you take something from seeding and allow it to grow. Now, sorry, I should have started with the beginning of that, because I've jumped in right in the middle. So let me read the whole statement again. Whatever club we take, there'll be a big property play as well. Staveley said in an episode of Bloomberg's Leaders, blah, blah, blah. And then she went on to say, it won't just be football led. We want a challenge, and that's what excites me, and so on and so forth. So that statement, there will be a big property play as well, plays right into the hands of what we all expect. We all expect that this is not just about buying West Ham United Football Club, which I don't mind. If you talk to an awful lot of Newcastle fans, said she's the best thing that happened to them. But it is down to, I do wonder if it's more a land grab than anything else. Now, there are rumours that she's already spoken to the owners of the stadium. There are rumours that she's already spoken to the owners of the land that the stadium sits on, etc. And look, she's a businesswoman, and why not go for the land grab? But what worries me is what happens to West Ham United in the midst of all this, because I can assure you, if the Reuben brothers really are involved, and we don't know who's behind the consortium, we've heard about this other group in America somewhere, but in general, we don't know who else is in this consortium. There's a rumor, there's a guess that the Reuben brothers are involved, and we know the Reuben brothers' history. They are, they had dealings with land around the Stratford area a long time before. So if this is a land grab, then I think what people are automatically expecting is, well, that's great, isn't it? Get the land, get the stadium, rebuild the stadium, job done. When you do a land grab, and especially in an area like that, you're not really looking to build a stadium or rebuild the stadium or reshape the stadium or whatever you want to say. What you're looking to do is to grab the land and forget what's on it. So we could be, and it's really only what I'm sort of, surmising from what I'm reading, from what I'm hearing, is that probably in the next 5 years, we might be saying hello to another new stadium. Yeah, everyone's going, fantastic. Another new stadium. That's what we want, isn't it? Yeah, but it won't be in Stratford. Whether you like that or not, I don't know. Now, the guess is, and I think I've spoken about it, I think X spoke about it some time ago, is some land in Essex. Now, I don't know where in Essex, but I think you can sort of guarantee that the next West Ham United football stadium will not be in the London Borough of Newham. It will be elsewhere. Now, I don't know how that works with regards to keeping the same name of the football club. I keep thinking of MK Dons when they moved away from Wimbledon, and then they had to rename their, the club MK, Milton Keynes Dons, and all that sort of stuff. Will it be, I don't know, Essex, West Ham, Essex United? Or I don't know. But look, there's a lot of pluses for Staveley taking over. But I can equally see a lot of absolute disruption. And I think the one main disruption for me is this coming season, because what it looked like, and we'll argue about what's happened with Kretinsky and whether he's done the right or wrong thing in taking so long in trying to buy the shares of Vanessa Gold. But it looked as if we had a plan, or certainly Daniel Kretinsky told us there's a plan. Don't worry, there's a plan in place. And his statement at the weekend, when the news came out that Staveley had made the bid, has said it's going to destabilize, it's going to disrupt this football club, for the immediate future. But I'm going to do all I can, to sort of try and balance that out. So there's going to be a disruption. Now, if you remember, Daniel Kretinsky's bid to buy the gold shares was all about, he made an offer to Vanessa Gold. They agreed it. They put it out in the public. And then there was talk about him bringing in about £100 million off the back of that to bolster the West Ham United squad. Now, that's not happened. Why would you? If you think that there's going to be other players coming into the equation, why would you spend your own money when you might not going to get the benefit of it over the long term? So that's all stopped. All the hope that we had with regards to getting a squad, £100 million, selling the players that we sold, adding another £100 million. Not only were we starting to get rid of the debt slowly, We also started to look at investing into the club. That's all gone out the window. Now, I do think that the reason why we haven't signed a player is because of this. It cannot be for another reason. I can't see how we haven't signed in 2 months. We haven't signed one player. No, I tell a lie. We've signed Kibala Madrid. But him aside, I cannot see how. Look at that. You see it? You see it? Bastard. I cannot see how we haven't signed another player since then. And it can only be, even though the statement on the West Ham website talk about, we're not going to distract, our plans, etc. Business as usual. Business as usual. Even at the worst transfer window that we've had in the summer, business as usual has not been signing a player that you've had on loan, who, by all accounts, really was an under-21 player. That's not business as usual. Business as usual, the worst case scenario is we would have signed a couple of players by now. And then we go and rush and sign a couple of players at the end of the transfer window. We haven't done that. So this is not business as usual. This is a big, big setback for West Ham United. It could affect. Look, I'm confident. I still think, ironically, even with how awful this squad looks at this moment in time, I still think we do just about all right to get into the playoffs. But playoffs is not where we want to be. We want to be in finishing in the top 2. But the only way we're going to finish in the top 2 is if we invest in this squad. We know what we need. It's obvious to everybody. We need backup, or we need at least another starter at centre-back. Aaron Wan-Bissaka apparently is going, so we need a right-back. We need a creative midfielder that we're crying out for. We've got no creativity in midfield, and we need pace. We need a winger. We need a winger who's got burning pace, and of course, we need a finisher. We need another striker to come into this club, at the very least. At the very least. But if we're not getting that, or if we're taking too long to get it, how long before that we bed them in? Now, I looked at the fixtures. We've got 4 games before the transfer window shuts. League games, 4 league games. That shows how quickly this league is going to go. We've got 4 league games before the transfer window shuts. Now, if we start off badly, we're already playing catch up. Now, Nuno can go out and set us up for a draw in every game, but a draw is not going to win us the league, and a draw is not going to get us up, really, to be quite honest with you. So it's obvious what we need. We need investment in this squad, and it needs to happen sooner rather than later. And that brings me to, what is he going to do next? Because I did a show yesterday to talk about the various scenarios about this preemption process that's now in place. Now, just to re-clarify how it works, forgive me if those of you who have already watched the show know exactly how it works. So there's 2 stages to this preemption process that will happen. The first stage is the 25.1% shares that Amanda Staveley has offered to buy from Vanessa Gold. All those shares go to the current shareholders of West Ham United. So Sullivan, and by the way, the person that keeps calling me out on Facebook, telling me I'm a twat because Sullivan can't buy shares because he's resigned. Well, sorry, mate, the twat is you, because he can buy the shares. Just because he's resigned from the board doesn't mean he's resigned from the football club. He's still a shareholder, and he's eligible to buy shares that are available. So Sullivan can buy shares. Of course, Kretinsky can, Tripsmith can, and the 2 minority shareholders can as well. So, as you know, current shareholders, 38.8% Sullivan, Kretinsky 27%, Gold Family 25%, Smith 8%, and the remainder is minority share. So, of those 25.1% available from the Gold Family, Sullivan is eligible to buy 13% of him. Kretinsky 9%, Tripsmith 2.7%, and the minority share can go for 0.4%. Now, we know, we're pretty certain that Dave Sullivan is not going to increase his 38.8% sharehold. So then you look at the minority shareholders, and they're going to probably think, look, our share's too small to make any difference. We're going to just sit tight and just see what happens. And that leaves Kretinsky and Tripsmith. Now, Tripsmith can become quite key in this, and I'll explain why later on. Goodness, I've got nearly 200 comments. I will come to them. I promise you I will. So Kretinsky, I think he will take his option in the first round of the preemptive approach, and I think he'll go for his 9%. And I think quite possibly Tripsmith may decide to go for his 2.7% as well. Now, for Kretinsky to purchase that 9% of gold shares, and this is based on the valuation that Amanda Staveley has set. Amanda Staveley's offered for the 25.1% is it's gone 150 million pounds. That means she's estimating that West Ham United are valued currently at 600 million pounds. We're not. The best guess is 450 to 500 million. When we were in the Premier League, we were about 750 to 800 million. But what Staveley's done is she's upped the ante and she's gone, I'll give you 150 million pounds for the 25.1% shares. So what Kretinsky and what has got to do, he's going to match that value. He's got to match that valuation. So to purchase 9%, it's going to cost him 54 million pounds. If Trip Smith goes for it as well, the 2.7%, it's going to cost him 16 million pounds, and he increases sharehold in West Ham to 10.7%, and Kretinsky will increase to 36.6%. Now, the preemption process then goes, that would leave 12.4% shares left over. Now, I guesstimated that maybe that will be split accordingly. Kretinsky's got the largest sharehold, so he would be eligible for about 9% of the shares, and maybe Smith entitled to another 3%. I don't know, because I have looked at the articles of association. I've read them over. I've lost count how many times I've read them over. The first stage of the preemption process makes perfect sense. You know, you've got a shareholder, the largest shareholder can opt to buy the largest portion of the gold shares, and so on. That makes sense. Then the next bit makes sense. Whoever opts to go into the first stage of preemption goes to the second stage of preemption. And this is where it becomes hazy. Some people are suggesting that at the second stage, whatever shares are left over, whoever's gone into the first stage have got an option to buy, but they would have to buy the lot. I'm not sure that's right. And I don't know anybody that is telling me whether it is right or not. Because if that's right, that means the remainder of these 12.4% shares has got to be bought up by either Kretinsky alone or by Kretinsky and Smith combined. So we don't know exactly what that is. Some people are saying it's absolutely right. You know, otherwise Vanessa Gold would be out of pocket. But my understanding is, say, for example, Kretinsky only goes for 9%. And Smith goes for 3%. Now that would get rid of the whole thing. But say Smith doesn't want to buy his share, and Kretinsky says, "I'm going to increase to another 9%." He could do that, but then that means there'll be 3.1% left, and and other people are saying that what then happens is Vanessa Gold will go to Amanda Staveley and say, Kretinsky has taken all his allocation. He's bought them. What's left is 3.1%. You can buy the 3.1%. If that happens, I don't think Amanda Staveley is going to be remotely interested. If Kretinsky, and this is why I've said about Kretinsky's next move, Kretinsky wanted 16% in the first place. No one knows why. And the only best estimate we can guess there is the reason why he went for 16% was to leave just over 9% as a legacy to the late David Gold, who said, I want to keep a legacy at this football club. And that's the only thing I can think of that he only went for 16%. What Amanda Staveley's done now is she's upped the ante and she's gone, I want to buy all of them. Vanessa Gold has gone, yeah, okay. And she's done what's best for her. And look, I don't have an issue with that. Vanessa Gold wanted the best price. She's been offered a really very good price, way above the valuation. And she's not concerned about West Ham United. She wants to get the money in. And I don't have an issue with that. The fact that it screws us over a little bit is by the by. She's got a duty to herself, not to West Ham United, not to the fans, but to herself. And I don't blame her. But what timing? What timing to do all this? Because now it kind of throws everything up in the air. So it's the second stage of this preemption process that is hazy. You can go ahead and look up the articles of association. And if anybody can tell me what they mean in terms of the second stage, I'll be very, very pleased, because I've been given two different scenarios. As I've said, the first scenario and the second stage is whoever's left over after the first stage has got to buy out the rest of the shares. And someone else said, no, they can go for whatever they want. And whatever's left, if they don't buy the whole sharehold, whatever's left, then Vanessa Gold can go to Staveley. Right, they've allocated X amount of shares between them. This is what's left. Do you want to buy them? Now, whether Staveley does that or not is a completely different matter. So, look, I really am in two minds over this. Now, in terms of what the Newcastle fans are saying, they were cocker. I remember going up there to an away game a few years back, and we were asking, so what's it like? And the Newcastle fans were like, "This is great. This is great." Not only are the after Staveley sold off her shares to the Saudis. They went, this is fantastic. They're investing in the infrastructure. They're investing in not only in the club, but around the infrastructure. Everything about what they're doing is fantastic. Now, wheels are coming off a little bit now because they're realizing it doesn't matter how rich you are, you can still only spend a certain amount of money at your football club because of, at that time, PSR rules. So, yeah, look, Staveley on the surface sounds fantastic. You should come in, get investment, look to do a buyout of the whole club, possibly. What happens thereafter, I don't know. Look, we hear that David Sullivan has said, if we go back up to the Premier League, I'll sell then, because he knows that what Amanda Staveley has offered now, apparently Staveley has approached both Kretinsky and Sullivan to buy their shares. And by the looks of it, they both said, no, thank you. So if they've both been offered, if Staveley is offered the same valuation to the tune of £600 million, I'm not surprised that Kretinsky and Sullivan have said no, because they know that if this football club does get promoted back to the Premier League, our valuation shoots up again to 750, 800 million. So, and this is the bit that's frustrating, because I wanted to know what Daniel Kretinsky was going to do. I want to know the plan. Now, I've seen that the fan advisory board have asked for the club to come out and tell us what's going on. And I would I think it would really serve Daniel Kretinsky's purpose now to turn around and say, this is why I'm not happy. This is what I was planning to do. This is the roadmap I was planning on. Because the roadmap was evident evident to me maybe, that he persuaded the manager to stay. He persuaded our captain to stay. He talked about investment in the club and how things went wrong in the past, and we're going to put things right. And the fact that we kept hearing he was going to put 90 to 100 million pounds into this football club told me that he was sorting out the finances. We were told. We were all worried about PSR and about, the debt that we had, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the first statements that came out soon after Sullivan resigned and Kretinsky took over was, the finances are fine. Don't worry. Don't panic. Everything is all right. We've beaten BSR. It's not a big deal. It's not a problem. The cash flow is better. We paid off the £40 billion Barclays loan, et cetera, et cetera. And it sounded as if everything was looking like it was heading towards the right direction. And we've just been derailed. Who do I blame? So let's go to the who do you blame? Because some people are saying, well, it's Kretinsky's fault. The man said on the 12th of June he was buying. Why did he wait so long? What's going on? We don't know that it's Kretinsky's fault. Now, we hear that the Staveley offer was coming in for quite some time. That's probably why he went to Gold and he said, this is the deal I want to offer you. Are you happy with it? Vanessa Gold said yes. They put out a joint statement and they both agreed that that deal was going to happen. So what's changed? Staveley's come in and she's pulled the rug from under Kretinsky's feet and gone, yeah, your valuation is 450, 500, and this is what Kretinsky's going to give you. But I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to up the ante and I'm going to offer you more. Great. So do you blame Vanessa Gold for reneging on Kretinsky's deal? Vanessa Gold seemed to imply that it was all down to because we couldn't find an agreement. Kretinsky doesn't seem to be saying that, and I don't know if I'm going to blame Kretinsky. There's mates and there's fans who are saying, well, they've hoodwinked us, 50,000 season ticket renewals. They've done all this, and now that there's 50,000 there, they're telling us all that it's all gone to pot. Have we been lied to? I asked this question in the show I did yesterday. I'm not so sure that we have been lied to be quite honest with you. I think Daniel Kretinsky is pretty miffed. And what he's now got to do, the proof now is in what he does next. Because if Kretinsky is a man of his word and talking about, getting this club back and stabilizing it again and all that sort of stuff, the next thing he's got to do, he's got to put a marker out there and he's got to say, I'm going to go into the preemption process. I'm going to be a part of it and I'm going to claim my right to the first purchase of the 9% that I could buy. You know, so if he does that, then you know he's putting his money where his mouth is, because what's going to end up happening is if he buys the whole allocation that he's got, the first stage of the preemption rights and the second stage, this could cost him in total 119 million pounds. No, 109 million pounds. Sorry. Now, if he only offered gold 80 million pounds, it's going to cost him another 20, nearly 30 million pounds more to do. Sorry, 20 million pounds more to do this deal. So it's going to cost him. But this is what we want to see from him now. We want to see that he's a man of his word, because if he does enter the preemption process, then that indicates that he's serious about West Ham United and where he wants this club to head to. If he turns around and says the preemption process, I'm not going to enter into it, then, perhaps it was him that was stalling on the gold deal in the first place. It's all interesting to a point, but it's effing infuriating, because what we want right now is we should be focusing on what's happening on the pitch. We should be focusing on getting players through the door and improving this football team. But our heads are going elsewhere, and it's not good. It's not right. Now, before I do talk about the many transfers that we will not buy, that we might buy, let's go into the chat and say hello to people. Sean, good evening to you. Have I missed Sharp? What you missed? Nothing. The Football Boardroom YouTube channel dropped a video earlier, inside West Ham deal, recommended viewing. I will watch that later. Someone else recommended that to me as well. Evening, all. Engels started for Celtic. That's a middle finger to West Ham for sure. Brilliant. Well, that's one player that I may not be talking about. An ounce of action is worth a ton of theory. Engels himself said that. Yuha, good evening to you. The free development of each is the condition for the free development of all. Vice player is. You're very philosophical. Good evening, Stephen. I hope you're well. Colin, good evening. Freshie, mate. I saw the Football Boardroom earlier, mate. How are you? I don't mind, but Staveley has done this at the wrong time, and I do hope Sullivan doesn't have anything to do with this. He doesn't. This is the first time we can say with all honesty, this has nothing to do with Sullivan. Excuse me. Can't even blame him. We can't even blame him, because it's got nothing to do with him. He's sitting there on the sidelines thinking, there you go, you see, I step away and it's a shit show. I mean, he could easily be saying that, couldn't he? The irony of it. Good evening to you, Colin. I'm not sure we have any money for transfers. I'm having my doubts. I think we might have to wait till January. This Staveley bid has come at the wrong time. We've got money for transfers. We might be getting more loans than permanent signings, but I don't care right now. Just get some bodies through the door, the right bodies as well. I hear West Ham are ready to make a bid for Troy Parrott. That's probably the third summer in a row that we're going for Troy Parrott. What's happened to him? I hope he's not a dead parrot. Brendan Toha, good evening to you. Hi, Cerebrally. Deep did you just go? When I hear Engels, I think the family from Little House on the Prairie. I know it's Engels, not some Fred fella from the 1800s. Good evening, everyone. I'm not going to put up your good evenings, but thank you all for saying good evening. Mr. Williams, you couldn't explain the share situation between Gold, Staveley, Kretinsky. I did, didn't I? You couldn't. I did. I know you're taking the piss, but I just did. Who else have we got? Rex, good evening to you. How comes YouTube keeps turning off notifications for some channels? Every time I watch Stell's video, I have to keep clicking on send me notifications. I don't know. That's a real shame to hear that, and I have no idea. Go into, I don't know. Just go back into your settings and see if you got click notifications on. Thank you for alerting me of that. I don't know why it does that. But if anyone knows, please do tell him. Toha. I might see Reef at the junction. Who else have we got? Peter. Peter Dancer. Good evening to you. I hope you're well. Rex. Spanish flatmate just asked, who's the translated cheeky? What are you all on about? That's too early. Amanda Staveley. Okay. Let's try and get some serious comments up. I hope you're all well, and I hope I'm glad you're having a bit of banter there as well. Right, here we go. Rex. I always thought it would be Trip Smith that led a takeover with American investors, but as long as we get one owner, but all the shares, I'll be happy. Now, I said I was going to talk about Trip Smith and the role he might play, because there's another angle to all of this. And it's the whole thing about everybody saying that, have I got I didn't put it up. Never mind. So Trip Smith, What's interesting about Smith is everyone is talking about that if Daniel Kretinsky ends up having to buy all the shares, so the 9% in the first round of the preemption process, and then all the remainder shares, it topples him over the 51% stake sharehold in West Ham United. And everyone's saying, and because of that, that means he's got to go and he's obliged to buy David Sullivan's 38.8% shares. You can imagine then the expense that comes with that. So he's already spent £109 million on buying the gold shares, and then apparently having to go and buy all the Sullivan shares. Now, again, we got a conflict, because in the stock market, as someone correctly pointed out, in the stock market, if you take ownership, majority sharehold of 51% or more, you're obliged to buy everybody else. West Ham United are not a public company. They're a public-private company. We're not on the stock market. So I've been told that the stock market rules do not apply in this case, because it's a private firm and not a public one. So there's the answer to that, I think. So everyone's saying, well, of course, it's going to put him up shit creek. I'm not so sure. Now, you've got to ask the question, why would he have not bought out the whole shares, the gold shares in the first place? Because that would have taken him, his 27% plus the 25% would have taken him to over 51%. We don't know why. Maybe that is I don't know. Again, reading through the Articles of Association, trying to establish whether that's the case, there's nothing in there. There may be a private agreement that I talked about yesterday. There may be a private agreement between Kretinsky and Sullivan that if Kretinsky does take 51% or more, then perhaps a private agreement is that he will have to then buy Sullivan out. I've got a feeling. Now, Sullivan and Staveley don't get on. I don't think Sullivan will want Staveley to get her hands on West Ham United. I've got a feeling that both Kretinsky and Sullivan will make a deal where even if Kretinsky takes 51% or more, that he won't be obliged to buy Sullivan out. I think Sullivan wants to stay on, even if he's not the majority shareholder. There may be a deal there. Yes, people. Sullivan has not vanished overnight. Daniela. West Ham are a sleeping giant. I think if we can get owner in that wants us to be big and powerful, successful club, we will be on the one of the big 7 English football clubs. Look at the size of the fan base without success, etc. Yeah, I agree with that. But who's going to get us there? Staveley or Kretinsky? You could argue Kretinsky's had his chance. He's been there since 2001. Not made a move. Every time we keep thinking that the Czech Sphinx is going to be our savior, nothing of that has materialized. Nothing of the sort has happened. So you could argue Kretinsky has had his chance. He's done nothing, and now move over and let Staveley step in. You could say that. Randy, I just saw a report from the BBC that Sullivan has been advised not to turn up at the home games, but will defy the request with having stadium operators accommodate him. Ooh. Yeah. PA and Jack, good evening to you. Am I the only one thinking Kretinsky is happy just being an investor, not an owner, and rather Staveley take control? This is all media hype and there's no problem. I don't know, like I said, we're going to find out what happens in the first stage of the preemption process. Good evening to you, Peter. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Abraham. I hope you're well. Daniela, I have a feeling PFI have realised Newcastle are not the big money maker they thought it would be. Apparently there's problems there, isn't there? Who else have we got here? Engels is starting. Good evening to you, Ray. Question from Stephen. Where West Ham finishing the season? Look, I'm going to say, even with the squad we have, we do need improvements, but I'm still going to say we're going to finish in the playoffs. There you go. That's bold. Chris, good evening to you. What is going on with the YouTube chats? Everyone is getting paranoid. I thought we wanted Sullivan out. Never understood the West Ham fans. Always something to moan about. We all want Sullivan to go. The interesting thing there, Chrissy, is what Kretinsky's done, or what he thought he'd done, is he managed to get all the shareholders on his side. Even though Sullivan is the largest shareholder, he managed to get all the other shareholders. So they were all going to vote with Kretinsky. He thought he had Gold's backing, Trip Smith's backing, the minority backing. So anything that they were going to plan to do, they were going to outvote Sullivan. If Sullivan wanted to go one way, look, just like what happened with Nuno. Kretinsky wanted Nuno to stay. Whether you think that's right or not is irrelevance, to be quite honest with you. But it was Kretinsky who wanted Nuno to stay. Apparently, Sullivan didn't want him to stay. They all outvoted him, and Nuno stayed. Now that was the plan. Now he can't trust Vanessa Gold. He doesn't know which way Vanessa Gold's going to swing. So that must be another reason why he's up, because now it takes away that power, that collective power that Kretinsky had. All of a sudden, he doesn't have that collective power anymore. He's got a rogue. He's got, without Vanessa Gold's shares, they can't outvote Sullivan. So, Trip Smith has got 8%. The minority shareholders has got 1%, so 1.1%. So that's 9.9%, plus his 27%. That still doesn't, it's just under what Sullivan still owns. So it means Sullivan is the, even though he's not on the board, he can still vote for stuff that they don't want to do. And I think maybe that's upset Kretinsky as well. Dave, there's so much going on, but nothing is going on. Absolutely true, mate. Glenn, good evening to you. Steve, a nice smoke and still on the Monday. You can't go wrong evening. Oh, you smoke, do you? Oh, yeah. Why are you always edgy then? If you go on the old ganja. Glenn, evening still. To be honest, I'm completely done with it all. Got tickets for Saturday, and if I see no improvement from the drab rubbish from the last few seasons, I will not be going anytime soon. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Chris, wouldn't blame Staveley if she walked away. She can't win. She can win. She wants it all. But where would that take? Look, I'm predicting this. I don't want to predict it, but I'm predicting this. If Staveley does come in, I think it disrupts everything. I think that really damages us for this season, and then we're going to be playing catch up, and then we're going to be looking in the January transfer window to try and catch up, and that'll be too late by then, I think. Let's scroll down. Do forgive me because I am literally 40 minutes behind in the chat, so I'm going to try and pick out some relevant ones. PA, I'm not one to worry, but doubts are setting in. Need 5 signings for this season. Absolutely agree. Randy, Steve T, all good cheers. Everyone saying hello to each other. Aaron, good evening to you. For months we've been hearing we're going to start making bids in the coming days, and nothing has happened. Glenn, David Sullivan, he's the problem. He still thinks he runs the club. He needs to be told to drop down and leave us alone. Genuinely, for the first time for a long time, genuinely, I can turn around and say with all honesty, it's got nothing to do with him. He's sitting there watching it all passing by. Elbow. People picking over our club like we don't exist. Wait, we are only just fans. People picking over our club like we don't exist. Wait, I didn't quite understand that, mate. So my apologies. Please retype that again. Renegade, good evening to you. The timing was atrocious, puts the club in turmoil. Good evening, Mr. Gilby. I hope you're well. Just hope the boardroom sorts the mess out before it's too late and all the main players stay and get us promoted. Black Country, good evening to you. I've just seen the Staveley documentary. I'm impressed. Don't care about the land grab. Happy days. Sullivan has gone. Good evening to you, Graham. Sean, if you want a neutral breakdown, check out Inside the West Ham Deal on the Football Boardroom channel. An excellent watch. I will promise to watch that, Harry, but I don't think I'm going to promise to do yet another show on this subject, but I will watch that. Harry, just back from Naples. I hope you had a great time. Been staring at sculptures of El Christ. I hope you had a wonderful time. Let's see if we got... I can only see them properly when they actually come up on the screen, and I don't think they're not all football. Chris, oh my goodness, to think that an investor might want to make money. No, don't get me wrong. I have absolutely no issue with an investor wanting to make money. We know Kretinsky has come in to make money. I've said that for a long time. He's in for the money only. But unfortunately, well, they're all coming in for the money, aren't they? If anyone thinks Kretinsky or Staveley or Gold or Sullivan or anybody else loves West Ham United, fuck me. Where have you been hiding for all this time? Antonio, BBC have just said the West Ham have advised Sullivan to stay away. Yep, just heard that. Yuha, I'm now more worried of Staveley's consortium. I'll try not to get too stressed before we fail to get any players in. Look, it could be, no, it's not Thurrock. It's not Basildon and somewhere else starting with a B in Essex. Someone will tell me, starting with the site, whether that was the site for a new stadium or a site for the new training ground. Is some Basildon or somewhere else starting with a B? It's gone. Renegade. Sounds like the property is the main Staveley concern, and we as a club are an afterthought. That worries me. David, keep the ship steady, sell 50,000 a ticket, then restart the clown show. Do you think that's what really has happened? Do you think the fans have been lied to? I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Glenn, my thoughts on this whole shares shambles is they're after the land and only the land, and West Ham Football Club will be homeless. And before anyone says it can't happen, Juventus. Well said, mate. Well said. Ed, I can only make assumptions because I'm not sitting in the boardroom. I can only make assumptions based on the logic that's been presented to us. Not just me going, oh, by the way, that's what I think. But, you know, the thing about the whole share, the preemption process, I'll be happy to send you the articles of association. If you can make out what the second stage of the process is, you're a better man than I, because I couldn't make it out. Clear what the first stage of the preemption process is, clear what happens going into the second stage. You know, if you're part of the first stage, you're part of the second stage, but then it becomes very unclear. Some are suggesting at that stage that you've got to then go and buy whoever's left in the second stage. Between them, they've got to buy the whole shares that are left over from Vanessa Gold. And others are suggesting you can just say, this is how much I want, and then leave the rest. And then Vanessa Gold goes to Amanda Staveley and says, this is what's left over. Do you want to buy into West Ham? Chris, by the comments and views on YouTube channel, she should walk away from this toxic fan base. Are we a toxic fan base? I don't know. Gart, good evening to you. West Ham move out of Newham. It would be an utter disgrace. West Ham are a London club. End of. Totally agree. Don't get me wrong. That damn fly. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting for a moment that I think that's what we should do, but it's an option. I don't think, if there is a land grab, I don't think they're going to be building a stadium on that site again. It's going to be full of flats. It's going to be full of properties to sell, because that's what the Reuben brothers are in for. That's what a lot of people go in for the land for, to create. Look what happened to the Boleyn. Look what happened there. Everyone saying hello to each other. Barry, Kretinsky, typical West Ham. Low ball offer for gold shares, but it wasn't though. Bigger offer came in. Now he doesn't like it. It's called business. It is called business, but what you do is you base your offer on what you believe that value of the club is worth. So my understanding is he made an offer of something like 80, 90 million pounds because he valued the club. The club is valued at about 450 to 500 million pounds because we've gone down. What Staveley has done, so he hasn't gone in with a low bid. What Staveley has done is she's gone. I know West Ham, if they're in the Premier League, are worth 800 million. I know West Ham United in the Championship are worth 500 million. I'm going to come in at 6. She's valued the football club at 600 million. We're not worth 600 million at this moment in time as a Championship club. With all the revenue that we've lost, we're not worth that money. If we get promoted back into the Premier League, we'll be going back up to 750, 800 million pounds valuation. So no disrespect, Barry, but unfortunately, Kretinsky made an offer based on the valuation of the football club at this moment in time. Peter, don't know if the rumour about Broja is true. Oh, please no. He scored about 16 or 17 goals in 7 years in injury, but no, it's not true. Just like most of the others I'm going to tell you about are not true. Kansas. If the new stadium isn't in Newham, it's not West Ham. There must be land close to the docks to develop a stadium like Everton. You find it, we'll build one for you. Cookie, good evening to you. Kretinsky could blow them all out of the water if that's what it's about. It's not. Sullivan's still mugging off playing games. Kretinsky wanted to save us, but the midget won't allow it. It really, really, I can't stress enough. You know, I'd really, really, really like to put it on Sullivan. I'd really like to point the finger and go, it's his fault. But I can't say at this moment in time that it is, because even Sullivan doesn't like Staveley. Don't think they like each other. So why would he do her any favors? John, don't want her to take over. Randy, very good, thanks. Everyone's saying very good. Where in Essex? I can't remember. Starts with a B, so there you go. Maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe that's about building the new training ground. I could be completely wrong. Victor, the consortium she puts together at Newcastle is now imploding. They're selling their best players, lost their manager. Staveley doesn't hang around. She doesn't hang around. You're absolutely right. 3-4 years, 5 maximum, and she's gone. And then what? But interesting comment there, Yuha. Stel, do you know if Amanda is putting any of her own money in? She doesn't have a lot of money. She's millionairess, yes. You've got to look at the background. I'm not one to, I haven't looked too much into it, but I've looked enough. She's being sued left, right, and centre. I don't know why, but she is from various other business deals of the past. She's not absolutely loaded. It's all reliant on the consortium. What she's very good at is the consortium she's put together. It's the consortium money that she's put together. So how much of that is hers? I do not know. Probably not a lot. John, the new stadium could be built on Canby Island if West Ham have to leave Stratford. Can it? That's interesting. You might be right. I don't know. Ed, no, still you're banging the drum for Kretinsky. Yeah, a little bit. I think I am. I don't think there's a problem with that. If I have to be honest, I think at this moment in time, probably Kretinsky might be the better person to keep this ship going. Staveley could have come in any other time. She could have come in after the transfer window shut, as we're sort of entering into the new season, and then made the offer. Nothing would have stopped her from doing that. So yeah, perhaps I am. Perhaps in a roundabout sort of way, I am banging the drum for Kretinsky. Relegate. I don't know how the clubs can say business as usual. What players are going to come to us when the boardroom is a circus? Absolutely. Nuno, Peter will be gone after 6 games. Glenn, we had grounds in Plaistow and Canning Town before Upton Park. Harry, do you think Nuno will walk out if we don't get anyone in? Very possible. How? I don't think How will come to us if we don't improve the squad, to be quite honest with you. But yes, it's very possible. If things don't go well, we'll stay up with 46 draws, yeah. If things don't go well, yeah, I could see Nuno perhaps walking away, not being happy. He left Nottingham Forest in a much better position than we were when we were just entering. They were just entering Europe, and he walked away from that, or got sacked from that. Black Country, why Kretinsky slow to react to buy the shares? He's only got himself to blame. He doesn't want full control, so what's the problem? Well, we will find out. We will find out what his next move is, because if his next move is to go into the preemption process and buy the first 9% of those shares that he's eligible for, then that might prove that he does want to buy. And then something else has been going on in the background that we're not aware of. Marky, I'm quite excited about this Staveley potential takeover and hope she gets 100%. But something tells me Sullivan's intensity will get together to scaffold the deal. I don't think Sullivan will give up his shares easily. No, I really don't. I think he will hang on to them. I'm pretty sure he will. Christian, if Staveley buys the shares and the stadium, why would they kick West Ham out? 65,000 because as I've just said, it's not about the stadium, it's about the land. It's all about the land. It's about the land that stadium sits on. Is there enough land to build a stadium elsewhere? Probably. As big as? I don't know, to be quite honest with you. But it's not about the stadium. It's about the land that it sits on. Kansas, good evening to you. Do you realise Stratford is in the parish of West Ham? That's why West Ham Town Hall is in Stratford. There's some history coming out there. Ed, I'm 100% behind Staveley. Just look at her record. David, move West Ham to Chelmsford, build flats where the Olympic Stadium once stood, maybe ground share with Chelmsford City to keep the running track around the pitch. Fine. Don't kid about these things. Richard, they owe us an update. 50,000 season ticket holders need to be informed what is going on. Yeah, that's a fair point. I agree. Renegade, Kretinsky didn't buy the shares sooner because gold was holding him off whilst flashing their knickers to a better offer. So there you go. There's the two sides of it. Some of you are saying Kretinsky took too long. Other people are saying it was gold that was holding everything up. That bit we don't know. We don't know why it didn't happen. Brad, that fly is bugging me, flapping around my screen. You're not the only one suffering. Daniela, Newham Council will not want us to leave the area. We're bringing too much money for them and the local business. Matthew, it ain't the price of the football club, it's the value of the land we happen to play on. That's my thinking as well. I'm afraid it's not about the football club, it's about the land. Absolutely. Elbow, interesting considered David Gold paid only 25 million for his slice in 2010. 150 million isn't bad. It's not a bad return at all, indeed. Of course it's not. And I don't blame Vanessa Gold. I don't blame her. You want to get as much money as you can for the shares that you've got. Absolutely. Have you seen the latest on Axel Disasi still? I would like to see us sign him. I'll talk about transfers in a minute, mate. I'll bring you up to date as best I can. Hammer, He signed a deal that is, if he does, he has to buy the whole club at Premier League rate. There's another good point. That's a very good point. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah. If this 52%, if this 51% and more is true that he's got to buy the rest of the whole of the Sullivan shares, you're spot on. He's got to buy them at the rate that was agreed back in 2021 when he joined this football club, Kretinsky. Marky boy, Stel, I know you don't agree, but I'm convinced that 50,000 fans have been hoodwinked, buying their season tickets under the false promise by Kretinsky of the whole new brave world. I think it's bollocks. And I get that. I totally understand why people are thinking that. I say, if Daniel Kretinsky takes up his option of the preemptive process and buys the first 9% that he's eligible for, the 9% of the gold shares that he's eligible for, I think that may prove that he's not hoodwinked us. If he doesn't, then you're absolutely correct, Marky boy. If he doesn't, let me just remind you what that would mean. So, as I said at the beginning of the show, Kretinsky's got 27% of the current stake at West Ham United. That equates to the gold shares, the 25.1%. He's eligible in the first stage of the preemptive process. He's eligible to buy 9% of those 25.1%. If he doesn't put his preemptive process in action and he doesn't buy any of those shares, then Marky boy, you're absolutely correct. We've been hoodwinked. But if he does, then I would suggest that we haven't been hoodwinked. Elbow, I think we should move to North Korea. Just imagine the fan base huge. At least they keep Millwall under control. We play them. Paul, good evening. Stel has massive connections in the government and real estate. I thought you said I do. How do you know that? She has massive connections in the government and real estate. I welcome her. Fair play. David, the Boardroom podcast says if he takes 50%, he's got to buy Sullivan's shares. That's what that says. I keep being told otherwise, but fair play. It's not 50, it's 51. Well, who's quibbling over 1%, eh? Kansas. Could Staveley buy up the flats in Green Street, demolish them, then rebuild a 60,000-seater at Upton Park? Guts. I bet the gold shares will be contractually sold already, and there must be a point she can walk away and leave the current shareholders to buy the rest. No, it's the other way around. This preemptive process it's a legal process that's got to kick in. That's got to happen. So the offer from Staveley is on the table, absolutely. But what happens now is that the current shareholders go into the preemption process and they decide whether they want to buy any or all of the gold shares. So as I've said in that graph I showed you just a second ago. So the first stage is Sullivan can buy 13%, Kretinsky 9%, Smith can buy 2.7%, and then minority shareholders 0.4%, which equals the 25.1% gold shares. We believe that Sullivan won't be buying anything. We believe the minority shareholders are unlikely to either. That leaves Kretinsky and Smith in the process. If Kretinsky and Smith buy their allotted shares, 9% and 2.7%, that means what will be left will be 12.4% going into the second stage of the preemption process. And then I calculated, because of the number of shares that each of them own, Kretinsky will be entitled to 9.3 and Smith entitled to 3.1. That's the bit that we're not clear on. Whether both, if Smith and Kretinsky have to go in the first stage, whether they got to buy the remaining shares or only a portion of them. So the offer's on the table by Staveley, but that process has got to happen first before and then we see what's left for gold to offer to Staveley to buy. Matty, I don't think anyone's going to exercise their buying rights because the amount Staveley has offered is higher than their worth. She knows this and probably buy DK out at the same time. Well, this is what we're waiting for. This is what we're going to see what happens next. Because if Kretinsky does go in, he knows he's going to have to pay more than he offered Vanessa Gold in the first stage. So let's see what happens there. Glenn, Kretinsky will not invest in transfers because if we get promotion, Sullivan and gold shares will increase. So if I was Kretinsky, I'd let the club slide down the league and watch their shares bottom out. Doesn't help him either. But what he can do, he can safeguard. If he invests, he can give the West Ham United a loan. He can say, I'm going to loan you £100 million to buy footballers, but this is my return rate on it. This is what I expect back. So he can still lend them money, but it will be on a big return rates. Do forgive me. I'm trying to get as many comments in as I can. Staveley, I wanted Staveley to buy the club right at the end of the season, but now I think she's got involved at a bad time, is messing it up. I don't believe Kretinsky made a statement with intention to not follow. He's got an intention to follow, okay? 8 barley. I can't see how having 3 bosses, owners with significant voting rights, will really help us in the short to midterm. Feels all too much like what we had. Marky boy, Stel, Kretinsky had the option to become the largest shareholder. Sat on his hands. Now he's crying his eyes out. Let's see what happens. Iron good evening to you. I think Staveley has to buy whatever is left. Otherwise, she's only forced the price up. I think Staveley has to buy whatever is left. Otherwise, she's only forced. Yeah, she has to buy whatever's, if there's anything left. See, we've got all... Anyway, Ibrahim, maybe Kretinsky was never going to buy the shares and pay off all our debts. It sounds like a pipe dream. Look back in retrospect. Like I say, let's see what happens next in order to understand what Kretinsky is going to do. I'm going to explain this as well. Thank you for bringing it up, Mandy. Kretinsky owns 40% of Sparta. He cannot own more than 29.5% of West Ham in case we're both in UEFA in the future. Well, you've only got to look at what happened with Crystal Palace last season. The owner there had another club he owned, and Crystal Palace couldn't compete in the same competition. And look what happened with Evangelos Marinakis at Nottingham Forest, where he put the Nottingham Forest shares in a trust, in a blind trust, who were running the shares for him, so he couldn't get involved in influencing any decision-making at Nottingham Forest, because Olympiacos were in the same European competition. So there are ways around it. So it's a bit of a red herring. I get why people are thinking that, but whilst as club ownership increases, there's a lot of owners out there who are owning 2 or more clubs at this moment in time. That's going to just increase. There are going to be more owners buying into more clubs, and that's going to increase. And so long as you put in some processes which will ensure that there's no conflict of interest, then yeah, you can enter both competitions. So he can actually own more than the 29% shares that you've just mentioned there, Mandy. Glenn, I think 50,000 fans have had their pants pulled down. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Renegade, this lies squarely on the feet of Golden Staveley, like Richard's Coven, the Dark Arts, Marky Boy. Kretinsky made no secret of not wanting to be the major shareholder. Now he's being forced. So that's not the sort of owner we want. He's much... Okay, yeah, let's see what happens. Andrew, I was kind of hoping Kretinsky-Staveley would be a solid partnership. Kretinsky would rather stay in the background. Staveley with left 2 running the day-to-day business of running West Ham. No chance now. It's gone about in the wrong way, isn't it? Because that partnership could have been quite good. It would have been together. They would have been able to vote Sullivan, etc. So they would have had, between the 2 of them, they would have had over 50% ownership of this football club. And that could have been a good thing to happen. Such a shame that it didn't, or may not happen now. But, there's still a possibility. Maybe, as we speak, Kretinsky is having conversations with Staveley, trying to get an agreement between the 2 of them. Maybe. Ibrahim, he wouldn't have to sell his shares, just put 1 club shares in a blind trust, blah, blah, blah. Hammer, Mandy, he cannot, he cannot own 52% or is obligated to buy everyone out. But as I keep saying, that keeps coming, as I've been told tonight, that keeps coming from, if the company was on the stock market, public sharehold would have to do that, but it doesn't apply to a private company. I'm no expert. So if what you guys are telling me is correct, then I'll bow down to that. Toho, did anyone else read that in the US there has to be 2 deaths from the explosive diarrhea outbreak? Cheers for that, mate. Greeno, Kretinsky won't want to go over 51%, as that will trigger the purchase for the Sullivan shares. Gaz, you know what? I'm going to try and get to the bottom of that once and for all, because some people are saying it's happening, some people are saying it's not. Gaz, Kretinsky is a liar. He lied to a Commons committee on Royal Mail. Don't trust any of them. Who else have we got here? Phil, they want too much for Engels. He's not worth it. I'll come to transfers in a moment. Rex, have a feeling Staveley might be saving us from Sullivan and Kretinsky. Don't trust the Czech Prague fans. Aren't impressed with his input at his so-called hometown club. Who else have we got here? Let's scroll down. Toby, to reset your notifications, unsubscribe, then resubscribe. It should work. I've done it loads of times. Thank you for that. Randy, Andrew, it appears we will put in another bid for talk about transfers in a moment. I promise you, I'll come to them after I've gone through your comments. I didn't think we'd sign. Anyway, let's go. Josh Engels. It looks like you want to talk about Shall we talk about transfers and get away from the Gold Sullivan, Staveley, Kretinsky scenario? Let's go on to transfers. So who should we start with? I'll just start with what I got in front of me. Let's start with Manor Solomon. So apparently, Manor Solomon has been playing pre-season for Tottenham Hotspur, but he wants out because he doesn't believe he's got a future at the club. He doesn't want to go back out on loan again. He wants to be sold permanently. He wants to leave the club permanently. The value, people are predicting between 15 to 20 million pounds. I think, look, in the 24-25 season, Manor Solomon helped Leeds United get promoted. Ironically, he's the one that replaced Crescencio Somerville, who came to West Ham. 41 appearances in all competition. He scored 10 goals and 13 assists in that season. Last season wasn't so good. Played for Fiorentina half the season, the other half of the season for Villarreal. He made 30 appearances in total, 3 goals and six assists. Look, he's a decent player. He already knows the English league, the Championship. Tottenham are reported to be open to selling him, with West Ham being one of the clubs interested. He's a very different type of player to a traditional player. Got good close control, excellent on one-to-one situations, quick acceleration over short distances. He likes receiving the ball to his feet. Yes, I'm reading off a thing right in front of me. He's comfortable cutting in inside onto his stronger right foot. So he's the left-sided version of Jarrod Bowen, I guess you could argue. Good movement between fullbacks and centre-backs, creates chances. Look, his first instinct is to attack defenders. He doesn't just recycle possession, he commits opponents, etc. Weaknesses. Not physically dominant, doesn't offer much aerially. Injury record, particularly his knee problems. He can disappear in games if isolated. End product has sometimes been inconsistent. Look, if you talk to Leeds United fans, they will tell you how fantastic he was. And they rate him. And it sounds like a deal that it could work for us. Now, I know there's a whole lot of the politics going on. He's an Israeli international, etc. And there's some people coming out in favor of him, some people coming out against him, etc. I don't want to get into that. I just want to talk about whether he's a good enough footballer for us. And what he did for Leeds United 2 seasons ago seems to suggest to me that he could actually do a good job for West Ham. Would I want him? If it's at the right price, then why not? Why not bring him in? And the next one is an interesting one because we're talking about a swap deal. I mean, you've got to laugh. You've got to laugh when I tell you who apparently we're going to swap Matteo Cancellieri for. Apparently, Nicholas Füllkrug is interesting. Lazio want to do a swap deal. Why on earth would you swap a 24-year-old for Nicholas Füllkrug? I don't know. Looks like the type of signing that West Ham recruitment team may be targeting under Ben Chorley. He's young, technically gifted, with plenty of resale value, room to develop. Reports in Italy and from West Ham insiders suggest he's one of several wide players being monitored. And the reason why we're monitoring him is because apparently there's a talk about him being swapped with Nicholas Füllkrug. I would drive Nicholas Füllkrug to Lazio, myself, if it means getting anybody rather than him. And poor Matteo Cancellieri to be associated, being swapped with Nicholas Füllkrug. I mean, how good is he? He's a 6'1", left-sided attacking winger. He's got a contract till 2027, so he's only got a year left on his contract. He's primarily right-footed. He can play as a second striker. He can play as a number 10. He's had 1 senior international cap for the senior squad, and he's regularly played for the under-21s. He's 24 years of age. Playing style, despite being left-footed, he almost always starts on the right wing. Oh, okay. He's left-footed, starting on the right wing. So is he now? I did say a couple of days ago that I wouldn't mind Jarrod Bowen playing more centrally behind the striker. If you bought someone like Cancellieri, maybe Cancellieri can play on the right, put Bowen in the middle. Why not? His game revolves around driving inside onto his stronger left foot, carrying the ball at pace, attacking defenders on a one-to-one. He's a modern inverted winger rather than the old-fashioned touchline winger. Strengths: powerful runner, 6'1". He's bigger than most wide players, but still has excellent acceleration. Good dribbler of the ball. Rarely plays safe. His first instinct is to usually go to attack, making him dangerous in transition. He can play on the right, he can play on the left. He's a second striker, a false number 9, attacking midfield. That flexibility would appeal to Nuno, who often rotated his front three. Defensive work: Italian coaching has developed his work rate. And this is what I like. He tracks runners well, presses with intensity, something the Championship football demands. So not only will we see some attacking prowess from him, but he can defend well as well. Areas to improve: his end product, probably the biggest criticism. He gets into excellent positions, but hasn't consistently produced elite number of goals and assists. Decision making: he can sometimes over dribble instead of releasing the ball early. Consistency: he'll have games where he can look outstanding, followed by quieter performances. That's fairly common for young attacking players. Interesting. Would you swap him for Nicholas Fulkrug? I think I know what the answer will be there. Let's go on to the next one, because for probably the third summer in a row, we're hearing that we're linked to Troy Parrott again. Look, I just hope this one comes to fruition, because we were linked to him last season. We were linked to him summer before last. Look, Troy Parrott. Now into Troy Parrott is one of the standout options for this summer. After leaving Tottenham Hotspur, he rebuilt his reputation at AZ Alkmaar, is now attracting interest from clubs across Europe. He's valued at around £25 million. 24 years of age. He's a Republic of Ireland international, 6'1", right-footed. International caps: he's played 37 caps for Ireland, scoring 11 goals. But he isn't just a penalty taker. He's an intelligent, modern number 9, according to this. His game is based around clever movement, linking play, running channels, pressing defenders, finishing with both feet, creating space for teammates. Strengths: intelligent movement, probably the biggest asset. He times his run extremely well, rarely stays static inside the box. He's a clinical finisher. Since arriving in Holland, his composure has improved dramatically. He's got good one-touch finishing, good through balls, good cutbacks. He scores from one-touch finishes, through balls, cutbacks, etc. Link-up play: he enjoys dropping deeper to combine with the attacking players. Good work rate: manager loves his willingness to press. He'll chase centre-backs, close keepers down, and force mistakes. Sounds like someone that we would really benefit from. Mobility: unlike a traditional target man, he's comfortable drifting wide and attacking spaces. Areas to improve: physical battle. He's 6'1", but not an overpowering striker. He can still improve when playing with his back to goal against physical centre halves. So, look, £25 million. We've been interested in him before. We keep hoping that something will happen. But for 3 summers in a row so far, nothing. Let's hope that this summer is third time lucky for us. Now, Arnie Engels is apparently the player that's closest to signing for West Ham United, and yet he started in a friendly tonight for Celtic. So who knows what is going on here? Because we kept hearing of that Portuguese player, Sarr, who kept saying we're about to sign him, and nothing happened with him. Now, will it happen for Engels? I don't know. In terms of, I think I misspelled his second name there, but in terms of the type of player he is, a creative midfielder, someone who can sort of link up play between attacking player and midfield. I said about, when I was looking at the games in pre-season, that Tati looked quite isolated at time, and he could do with a creative midfielder behind him who could sort of be on his level, pick up balls, play one-to-ones with each other, etc. And Engels could be that type of player. Now, Celtic fans are really sort of like in two minds about him. If you talk to some Celtic fans, they're really disappointed that he's going, if he goes, and other Celtic fans are going, can't wait to see the back of him. So I don't know. Another player that's valued at 25 million. Now, apparently Nottingham Forest last season offered 25 million pounds for him, and it was turned down. My understanding was it was 20 million plus add-ons. If West Ham United can at least match that, then what we're told is he could be a West Ham player anytime soon. But he played in a friendly game tonight, so who knows what's going on there. Now, we all know about this young man, Axel Disasi. But apparently, Crystal Palace, I don't know if they've made their bid tonight. I don't know. The latest I haven't seen anything latest. But apparently, as we've just agreed a £25 million deal for Axel Disasi to come to West Ham United. Disasi, now we heard exactly the same thing in the winter, didn't we? In the winter transfer window, that we heard that Disasi was biding his time, seeing if a better offer or another offer came in, and then he decided to come to West Ham United. Now, look, I'm going to go soft on him because he was absolutely fantastic when he came to us, and we would all love him to come back to West Ham. But if you're going to wait and see how things go and see if another club come in for you before making a decision, it's kind of like we can't afford that. We don't have time. Apparently he wants to wait a week or two. A week or two means the end of the transfer window. So what then? Right at the very last moment, just like we did last in January? We need the players in now. We need players to make commitment. I really want Disasi to come back, but if he's telling us that we've got to wait until he decides what happens, then I don't know. Apparently, Crystal Palace want him. I don't know if if an offer's been made, but apparently that's what's happening. Some players leaving. Look, I don't know why I put this in there. I think you already know. Aaron Wan-Bissaka wasn't even in the squad at the weekend. He's apparently on his way out. Why did I put that in there? I don't know. Let's give you a couple of other players that we're apparently interested in. Now, Simon Adingra. My understanding is that Simon Adingra is a player that we've made an approach for. We've made an approach apparently for a couple of players. The striker, whose name is completely gone, and Simon Adingra, who's a wide player. Now, Adingra is an interesting player because I think, ironically, I think he can actually do well for us. Where have my notes gone about him? There he is. I think he's a player that can actually do well for us. I think he's a player that, if we get him, I think will really, really help us in the Championship. Now, it looks to be a choice between Adingra or Solomon. I can't tell you which of the two players are better. So Adingra is one of the closest stylistic. Let me just read European experience. He's got European experience, Premier League experience, 24 years of age, but some way from reaching his peak. So he's a player, unlike maybe Solomon, who's 27 years of age and probably is at his peak. The suggestion is that Adingra is still going to hit his peak from Brighton. Did I say Sunderland? From Brighton. Adingra, he's 24 years of age, Ivory Coast international, right-footed, left winger. He can play as a right winger and a wide forward if need be. 30 international caps, 5 goals for the Ivory Coast. He's got a contract. No, it is Sunderland. Yeah. It is Sunderland he's with. Contract with Sunderland until 2030. So he's still got quite a major contract left. Now, he spent the second half of last season out on loan to Monaco. And it looks as if Sunderland are happy to let him go out on loan again. Now, there's a suggestion that they want to sell him rather than loan him out. But I think this is the sort of player where if we can get him on loan with an obligation or an obligation to buy if we go up, option to buy if we don't go up, I think would be a really good move for us. He began his journey at the Dream Academy in Ivory Coast, renowned for producing technically gifted African talent. Before moving to Danish club Nordsjælland, he's got explosive displays in Denmark, earned him the move to Brighton. So he did go to Brighton first, and then he moved to Sunderland. He became one of the Belgium's most exciting wingers when he was playing in that league, scoring regularly for Union Saint-Gilloise and helping Union challenge for the title. When he returned to Brighton, he established himself as a decent Premier League winger and then played a major role in Ivory Coast winning the 2023 African Cup of Nations. His playing style, all about speed and aggression. What do we need? We need a lot of speed. We need an abundance of speed in this football club. We've got none of it at the moment. His first instinct is to drive directly at defenders. He loves receiving the ball in isolation and attacking fullbacks. Unlike many modern wingers, he doesn't need to overlap to support. He doesn't need overlapping support to create danger. So whoever plays behind him can concentrate on their defending, whilst the Adingra does all the attacking work. He's got explosive pace. Over the first 5 to 10 meters, he's one of the quickest wide players around. Look, We need it in abundance, don't we? I don't know. Adingra, I think, would be good for West Ham if we go for him. I think he was, he's one of those. He's one of those players that will sort of make the team tick. Areas to improve: his final ball, his crossing and final pass can be inconsistent. He creates plenty of dangerous situations, but doesn't always make the best final decision. His defensive positioning, his work rate is good, but tactically he can occasionally lose his defensive shape. Look, and consistency. Like many young wingers, he'll have games where he's almost unplayable, followed by quieter moments. He's the player. Now, I like the sound of Solomon, but I kind of like more the sound of Adingra. I would, maybe of the two, I would rather go for Adingra. Let's see. It might suit West Ham better if we go for him, but let's see what happens there. One more player to talk about. Have I got any more? Adingra. Let's talk about Bamba Dieng. Now, we've been told that there's a player that was playing in the French league that we can get pretty quickly. And many people are assuming it's Bamba Dieng because he's a free agent. He's an intriguing option. His career has been something of a roller coaster. When he's fit and confident, he's genuine goal threat. Following the expiry of his contract with Lorient last summer, he's a free agent, making him an attractive proposition for clubs looking to strengthen without paying a transfer fee. He's 26 years of age, Senegalese international, right-footed. He can play in a secondary position as a left winger. He's had 24 caps for Senegal, scoring 2 goals. Dieng first came to prominence from Marseille. He broke into the first team after progressing from their reserves. He quickly gained reputation as an explosive striker capable of scoring spectacular goals. A proposed move to Leeds collapsed on the transfer deadline day in 2023 after concerns about his medical, before a subsequent move to Nice also fell through. Instead, he eventually joined Lorient, where he's rediscovered his confidence and became a regular goal scorer. In the final season there, he reportedly scored 16 league goals, one goal, 16 League One goals in 26 appearances. Now, his playing style is not a traditional target man. He's a more mobile striker who thrives running behind defences, pressing centre-backs, attacking crosses at speed, etc., etc. He's got explosive pace. So you can imagine with Adingra and Dieng being in the same team, all of a sudden we go from being snails to one of the fastest teams around, and that could cause serious problems for teams in the Championship. He's a clinical finisher, really effective, intelligent movement. He rarely stands still. He drifts across the back line, looking for gaps between the centre backs. So I like the sound of him. He's versatile. He's got a lot of confidence. He's got a lot of pace. Areas to improve: his link-up play. Compared with some modern footballers, he's less comfortable dropping deep to knit attacking together. Do I care about that? I don't mind if a striker goal hangs, stays up front, and lets everyone else do the running around for him. But so long as he does the business in the final third of the pitch or around the 18-yard box, then what do I care whether he drops to link-up play? Everyone else does the dirty work for him, and so long as he scores the goal, then that's what's important. I think the concern about Bamba Dieng is his fitness. Mind you, since 2023, he's been absolutely fine for Lorient. Right, more comments. Gart, apparently it's in the contract when he bought into West Ham. If it goes above 50%, he's got to buy out Sullivan. Yeah. And that's the bit that we need to get clarification on. Will Sean be donating his transfer Stoogery memorabilia to the club museum, Pablo? Good evening to you. Toby, it's happened to me. Sorry, do forgive me if I'm not putting up your comments and reading them through. I'm trying to get to things that are they're not relevant, but people accuse me often of putting comments on that aren't relevant to the conversation that's going on. I think Staveley will seek to buy out Sullivan, the minority shareholders, and Kretinsky won't mind. Joseph, highly recommending we watch the latest episode of Football Boardroom. Mandy to Staveley, think we can get the London Stadium. It seems that she's confident that we can. Andrew, we can use unlimited loans, but I do think we'll spend money. Just I hope we get the right profiles. Loans, we can get as many loan players as we want in. I think we can only play 2. Someone said 2 at a time. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but we can get quite a lot of loan signings into this football now that we're in the Championship. Dark Star, This Solomon guy played very well the last time he was in the Championship, would be a good replacement for Somerville. Marky. This is just becoming as far. Sullivan, let's move on. Sorry, Marky, I'm not putting you down, but I just want to focus now on some. Anyway, Mandy, what would the share price do if we got the London Stadium? I really, really have no idea. That's a really interesting question, and I'll try and look into that. Brad, you say Kretinsky doesn't buy the gold shares. He's not really interested. You say DK doesn't buy the gold shares. I wouldn't necessarily say that's correct. He's a highly successful man. Everything has a price, but more importantly, value. I'm not saying that he doesn't buy the gold shares. I've been saying all along that I think he will. I think he will take his right to buy them. As Sullivan invited Staveley in for an audition, oh, Stiv. As long as Kretinsky and Staveley can work in tandem, there shouldn't be an issue. You would think not. And maybe, like I said earlier on, maybe that's where the conversation between the two of them is now going. I dare say they're going to have a conversation. Dark Staffs, Solomon's best stint was with Leeds. I'm guessing that's why we hope to sign him. But I see how this goes. Mandy, I think she is sure we can get the stadium. Why else would you buy them? Shares in a club that just got relegated. I totally agree. Good evening to you, Mike Stravels. I hope you're well. Garino, Sullivan would have to be mad to turn up for any home games. Chris, it's actually more than 29.9% mandatory off the stock market. Stock market. We're not in the stock market, though. We're not in the stock market. That's the difference. So that's why everyone is saying that he has to buy Sullivan shares unless there's a private agreement there. The stock market will tell you that you've got to, if you become the majority shareholder, but not in a private company. Gaz, we need to realise we have a big rebuild both off and on the pitch. We need the stadium sorted and the training ground. We may be in this division for a while. Be patient, Mike. Even still, good evening to you. Have you watched? Listen, you're about the fifth person that said that. I promise you, after this show, I will sit down and watch that. Andrew, if anyone hasn't watched the Boardroom, Daniela, I wonder the reason the American trip not buying the shares could be down to British tax laws and the income you get from them. That's a possibility. I really don't know. Josh, I think because of Staveley's involvement will not be promoted. That's not to say I don't like the idea of her taking over long term, but this has really thrown a spanner in the works. I agree with you. John, good assessment. Thank you very much. I also agree we'll be okay. This board can't afford for us not to get promoted. Good point. Mandy, that's who they are. Ashland Forest Capital Partners reportedly wants to explore purchasing the stadium outright from the Greater London Authority to invest heavily in the ground and the surrounding real estate. What happens to West Ham United's football ground? Will they don't have to commit. They don't have to commit. Once they get hold of the stadium and the land it's on, they don't have to commit to. I guess what you do is you'd have to try and tie it in legally. That if they do anything with that land, that part of the deal is that they build another stadium. I guess that can happen. I remember where I used to live, there used to be a pub near where I lived that was going to be brought down because they wanted to build flats, which they eventually did. But one of the deals that they agreed to was that so long as the ground floor becomes a pub again, then they can build up. They can build the whole thing and around it. And that's what they ended up legally obliged to do. Now, maybe there could be a deal where, with the Greater London Authority give a toss, whether they build another stadium for us or not. Maybe they won't. Maybe they might turn around to them and go, you've got to build a stadium, but you've got to have athletics in it. This is the only way you're going to get it. We were obliged to keep athletics, just like we told West Ham United. So if you want to build a new stadium, you go ahead and do that, but you've got to still have athletics there. That could happen. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because if they do get hold of the land, they do get hold of the stadium, and then they decide to knock it all down, if there's no pre-agreements there to say you must build another stadium for West Ham United, if that's not in the deal, then they can do what the hell they want with that land. Trodge, let Amanda take over, guys. She will sort out a stadium, I feel, and get things moving if they don't draw the process out. Marky, why is everybody saying Staveley has upset the club? At the end of the day, there's still somebody in place, Kretinsky, that can go out and buy these players if we need. Well, I think Kretinsky has had the rug pulled from under his feet. So let's see what happens now. Let's see what happens if Kretinsky takes his option in the preemptive process. Robin, explain selling Marshall and Potts and keeping Pablo and lightweight Ward-Prowse. Good point. I didn't have that in the show, but I will explain that. I don't think Marshall was going to make it, to be quite honest with you. Is he any better than Pablo? Probably not, but I don't think he was going to make it. We got a nominal fee for him. I cannot explain why we've sold or about to sell Freddie Potts. I don't know if he's gone yet. I don't know if he's had his medical or not, but I do find that odd. Freddie Potts did his apprenticeship. He went down to Portsmouth, played in Championship. He was their player of the season before last. And he came back, and he got given a chance to play last season. Is when he got sent off, everything changed for Freddie Potts last season. And it's not been the same for him since. I'm disappointed that Freddie Potts is going. I like him. I think he had something to offer. Every time he came on the pitch, I think he delivered. Marshall, I can't say the same for him. So selling Marshall, it's probably not, with the greatest of respect to him, probably not that big a deal. But selling Freddie Potts is a surprise. I've got to be honest with you. I didn't see that coming. I did try and explain it, which is a feeble explanation at the weekend. We got enough players in that area to cover. When Souček's back, James Ward-Prowse and Kante and all the others, but I still don't get it myself. I'm surprised. Mandy, insiders report that Staveley's ultimate goal is a full club takeover. Yeah, that's apparently true. And I've got details on that I'm not going to talk about now. Jake, why is nothing straightforward with this club? Absolutely nothing straightforward. Trudge, Kretinsky is running the club and she is costing money with her offer. Seems pretty simple to me, Marky. Yeah, good point. Billericay. Is it Billericay? Could be Billericay. Was it Brentwood? I don't fucking know. It's the honest answer. But I'm even thinking now it wasn't even about a new stadium. I'm thinking it was about a new training ground. So forget all that. I talk bollocks sometimes. So, and I just did there. Andrew, I thought Ward-Prowse was toast. This bloke is a boomerang. Yeah, there you go. He's back. Will he stay? I don't know. Ian came in at Newcastle, did a good job, didn't follow through, but better than Arthur Daly, Kretinsky, and Gimp Sully. Trudge. Hopefully, Kretinsky doesn't rock the boat and take the full 30. I don't think he will, to be honest with you. I know they've got up to 30 days for the first stage. But it's not just him. It's the other shareholders as well. The other shareholders have got to play their hand too. So the sooner they all say, I'm in or I'm out, the better. And if they do that, Benfleet, I don't know if it's Benfleet either. Yeah, I hope it doesn't take 30 days. I really do. Marky, yes, Staveley isn't a long-term owner. She's an investor. She can bring in some serious money men. Yeah, that's a good point. Mandy, David Solomon stepped down from the club duties amidst personal controversies. Staveley allegedly already initiated talks to buy his 38% to become the controlling owner. And I think he's told her to sod off, is my understanding. Colin. Stel, I heard when... How far behind am I? Okay, quite a bit. I heard when Kretinsky wanted to put the 90 million in, the other board members vetoed against it because it would affect their shares, so everyone on the board is to blame. I don't know if that's really... I don't know where that's come from. Thank you for that. I don't know if it's right, but because I talked about that. What you can do a number of things if you lend the club money. You can, in the long run, you can ask for it to be converted into shares, which, yes, will dilute everybody else's sharehold. That is absolutely correct. But that's got to be agreed in advance. So my understanding was that Kretinsky was going to loan the money to West Ham United and expect a return over time, is what I understood. So I don't know where that's come from. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I don't know where that's come from. But that's quite interesting. Now, if Kretinsky turned around and said, I will loan the club the money, but I want it returned in shares, then absolutely correct. It will dilute everybody else's sharehold. Exactly right. But if he's turned around and gone, I will loan the money, but I want it returned in, I don't know. And then what you could say is, look, if it's not paid back in 2 years, then, excuse me, if it's not paid back in 2 years, then it gets converted to shares. That could also be an option. But I think that's interesting. I'd love to know where that came from. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just interested to know where it came from. Lee, roll up. The circus is back in town. Budapest. No, definitely not Southend on Sea. No. Evening, Mount Star. I hope you're well. All in my opinion, we lack a ginger-headed player. Good point. Barking Riverside. Thank you there, Dark Star. Barking Riverside is what I was thinking of. There's land there. But I keep thinking now it's not for a stadium, it's for a training ground. John, it's likely that Kretinsky would have to buy shares at a multiple higher price if he goes over 50%. Think club valuation is 1 billion, probably part of a private purchase agreement when Kretinsky came in. I think it is a private agreement because I don't think there's anything else. It's certainly not because it's not part of a stock market thing. But I think also what was probably agreed is they have to pay Premier League valuation, absolutely. To the valuation of a billion, I'm not so sure. Potentially about 800 mil, something like that. But you're probably closer there. But maybe it's a private agreement rather than anything else. Westy Ham. Staveley and her business partners have had a meeting with Kretinsky's lawyers in City Hall about stadium and surrounding area, i.e. land. That will be really, really interesting then. If that's the case, let's see what Kretinsky then does. Kretinsky, after conversations with Staveley, may turn around and go, you give me some guarantees, some assurances, I'll let you go in and buy the shares that you've, the offer that you've made. He could do that. He could absolutely do that. Let's scroll down. But the timing of this is all quite critical. Josh, what is with everyone and giving so much credit to Sullivan? People are talking like he's a Batman villain with a plan, within plans just to spite fans, give it a rest. He really, yeah, you know, I don't know. Anyway, Marky, Stell, you've definitely been taken in by all this Sullivan and step down. No, absolutely not, mate. I've not. I'm one of the first ones that actually said quite a few weeks ago, Sullivan is still lurking in the background. I did a video. I actually said it. Sullivan is still lurking in the background. I said it. And I got told, you're talking bollocks, is what I got told. Well, I'm sorry. He's still there. Sullivan is still there. But in this case, he's got nothing to do with him who Vanessa Gold, to a point, who Vanessa Gold sells her shares to. Well, to a point. And to a point is he can be involved in the preemption rights process, David Sullivan. He can be involved. As I've said, he can buy 13% of the 25.1% available in the gold shares. He is not interested, is my understanding, in doing that. So I'm not being taken in by this Sullivan and step down thing. Absolutely not. He's still there. He's rubbing his hands. He's still sitting there going, do what you want. I'm still the majority shareholder here. Do what you want. I still own 38.8% of this football club. You know, so no, I've not been taken in at all, Marky. Rex, Sullivan is Batman. I just spat my beer out laughing. Imagine a Del Boy style Batman. Andrew rumors, yeah, that's been circulating for weeks. I don't think, unless we buy two strikers, Castellanos is staying. Richard, no one on the board has any interest in West Ham United. It's one thing I think I can agree with. Absolutely. Andreas, good evening to you. Another great see. There's a few of us around. Diganis, Olagala. I think we are in a win-win. Kretinsky steps up. We know he's motivated. If Staveley comes in, we know she is motivated. Fair point. See, us Greeks, we've got a lot of logic. Trudge. Wish we knew how much Kretinsky offered gold. But my estimation, and it's only an estimation, because as I mentioned earlier on, Trudge, when West Ham United got relegated, their valuation dropped to something like 450 to 500 million pounds, give or take. Now, you've got to offer what you value the football club at. So therefore, 16% at, say, 500 million is round about 80 to 90 million pounds. That's what I believe he offered her, 80 to 90 million pounds for that. What Staveley has done is she's gone, so that makes the valuation worth, I can't work it out. So, but what Staveley has done is she's gone, no, sod that. He's having a laugh. I'm going to offer you a much larger. So it's Staveley that's up the ante. It's Staveley that's gone in. I value this football club at 600 million pounds, and this is how much I will offer you for your shares. But what Kretinsky did was offering her what he believed the valuation was of 450 to 500 million. Staveley has just gone, forget that. Doesn't matter what you think it's worth. I'm going to put. She's upped the ante. She's upped the valuation. Who else we got? Phil. Camby would be a terrible choice. Road links terrible on I wish I hadn't even mentioned moving the stadium now. Good evening, Clive. I hope you're well. She helped Man City become a really big club with her savvy, getting money from the Middle East. She's really smart cookie and dependable. She has shares in Newcastle. Look at Henry Winter Boardroom. Yes, I will look at that. Hammer. There's 17 hectares there. Spurs built on 4 hectares, I'm sure. Where is that? Josh, the improved offer must have been tasty, given that the rumour she wanted to keep a small share as a legacy for her father. It's the other thing. Now, people are asking, why did Kretinsky only offer to buy 16%? The only logic that I can offer at that moment in time was because it was honouring the late David Gold's request to keep a legacy at West Ham United. I wonder if he offered to buy all of them. I don't know. Josh, I reckon Staveley got involved the moment the club announced Kretinsky's intention. This sort of thing doesn't just happen. No doubt he didn't buy because Gold was tempted by the improved offer. Yeah. So everyone blaming him for saying that he was stalling, it may not have been that at all. Hammer, the new stadium still in Stratford, nearer the edge of the park. Yeah. I don't know what I was bang on for, but thank you very much, mates. Clive again. Having looked at the Henry Winter Boardroom show, most of the comments made need to get up to date. Now, look, let me just look. I've got nothing against Henry Winter. I've seen him being totally slagged off by Newcastle fans on Twitter earlier today when he was talking about how great it is that Staveley's coming back into football and how great it will be for West Ham United. And I've seen Newcastle fans telling him that he's a mug because of accusing Staveley of sports washing, the dirty money coming into Newcastle United and being sports washed and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to see what Henry Winter has said, but some Newcastle fans are not happy with him. Marky, Sullivan sold Upton Park under us and built flats, and there was hardly a whimper. There wasn't hardly a whimper, but people getting pissy about Staveley potentially knocking down the stadium and will hate us for building flats. Excuse me. No, she can do that, but where will West Ham United end up if that's the case? Josh, I reckon it already is. We have the same problems we had last season and the season before. Worse players and even worse ownership. Daniela Stell, I'm not sure housing can be built on the land where the stadium is. I'm reading it's a Green Park area. Things can always change, Daniela. Things can always change. And if we really think, or if you really think that anyone that's interested in that land is going to keep it as green land area, you've only got to look what's around it. There are flats all around it. Come on. Money talks. Anthony, I reckon the Kretinsky, Sullivan and Smith will form an alliance to piss off Staveley. Interesting. Marky Boy, I watched the football boardroom. I'm even more excited about Staveley taking over. Who else have we got here? Let's scroll down. How far behind am I now? I'm still way behind. So do forgive me if I miss quite a lot of your comments. Let's scroll down. Daniel, some new faces. A bit late to the show. Welcome, mate. But is it true Sully will defy the advice and start attending home games and the club will need to up security for him? I've heard that earlier on today. And I don't know is the answer. He'd be a fool to do it. Love your prostate. Listen, love your prostate. Don't be embarrassed. Guys, I had prostate cancer and I had to have an operation last year. Go and get your prostate checked. They don't stick a finger up there anymore. They do it. All mod cons these days. Don't be embarrassed. Go and get yourself checked. It's worthwhile. So I'm guessing that's why you've got your title, Love Your Prostate. I hope you're doing well. All or nothing clouds can be inserted, and it can be that if all shares are not picked, the seller has the right to sell off to a third party. I could be wrong, however. Thank you, because that's what I was saying. That's my understanding as well. So first stage of this process, shareholders, current shareholders can say, I want my allocated share. I want to buy them. The second stage, there you can either go, I'm not interested anymore, or I want to buy more. I want to buy some, and whatever's left over, Staveley can then buy those shares. Good evening, Daz. I hope you're well. Who else have we got here? Mountstar. When I hear Engels' name, I keep thinking of Brett Engels. Is there such a person? I don't know. I'm sure there is somewhere in the world. Glenn, Spurs will want 45 million to recoup the goodest money. Andrew, got to be honest, never heard of Engels before. We were linked to him. So is he high quality? Well, some Celtic fans will tell you, yes, he is. And others will tell you, no, he's a load of rubbish and they can't wait to get rid of him. Hammers Football, good evening to you. GP, me and Stel, I've tried to do a show, but sometimes both tied up. So watch this space. We'll do it. We will do it, mate. I promise you. You know what I'm like? I've not done a Monday night show for ages. I only decided about 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock tonight. I'll sod it. The wife's away. She's visiting friends. And I'm like sitting there going, I'm twiddling my thumbs. What should I do? Should I talk about Staveley yet again? I'll go on then. This time, let's do it live. Randy. Trudge, I'm surprised we haven't got more targets, left wing positions. It's simply because of what he did for Leeds and West Ham. Well, we've got a Dingra, apparently. We've got a Dingra that we're interested in. Steve, watched Engels tonight. Is a good player, but hard to judge against Dundee. Please do, God, look, I'm an hour and 40 minutes in. And if you're new to this channel, I should have done this an hour and 40 minutes ago. If you're new to this channel, the first time you're watching this show, the West Ham Voice, or if you watched me before but yet to become a subscriber, that QR code takes you straight to the subscription page. All you've got to do is click on that, go to the subscriptions at free of charge, and you can become a subscriber of this channel. Andres, question. When we were supposed to get a technical director, then Coppen came in as head of recruitment and surely temporary. Was this planned, and Ashworth and Howe coming in? I don't think it was, to be quite honest with you. It's a good question. It's a good question. Chorley apparently just came in temporarily. Maybe Chorley, since, the whole Staveley thing started to happen, maybe that's why Chorley only came in temporarily. But Niels Coppen is permanent. Niels Coppen is a permanent head of recruitment or director of recruitment. Trudge, all these players being linked only to find out they won't want to sell, or they don't want to come, like Isidore. Well, if we're even interested in Isidore, I don't even know if that's true. Daz, been working, Tony, but try and come on next time. Glad you're here, mate. Hammers Football. Brendan covered that. Hope we can talk about the season and all that. Ken Schialeri, culture. I saw Fulkrug score a goal. Where is that? I saw Fulkrug score a goal once. Do you know the irony? The game that he scored that goal in the was it in the Cup? I can't remember. We were away to Leeds and we lost. And I walked out because I was going to get a train back. And then I heard that he scored. So I've not seen him score for West Ham. I don't think I have. I don't think I've seen him score. Rolly, good evening to you, mates. Boardroom shithousery, exactly what we don't need. Absolutely, completely agree. Let's scroll down. Let's try and catch up. I'm still way behind, so do forgive me that I can't put up all your comments. Kretinsky forced to buy out Sullivan if it goes above 50% via gold purchase is based on a put call clause. The put call clause that I've tried to avoid mentioning because I don't understand it. But yes, thank you for that. The agreement when Kretinsky originally bought in with price set by a mechanism in that contract above Amanda Staveley's price. So it's a valuation it's a valuation by Premier League evaluation. Staveley's evaluation is not Premier League. Glenn, 25 million for Parrott. The world's gone mad. There you go. Should have bought him when he was worth 15 million 3 seasons ago. Pretty boy. Rex, is it Norwegian blue? No, it's a dead parrot. If you don't know it, you're too young. If you don't know this sketch, you are too young. Where are we? Let's scroll down. Hammers TV, Hammers Football TV. Has Niels Coppen started at West Ham? Seems to have fallen off a cliff since they announced him. He's working away. Apparently. West Ham, I thought the amount for Disasi was 15 million. No, mate, I wish it was. Palace can't afford him. Well, they're about to sell the French centre-back to Chelsea, I think. So I think they can. Trudge, if we get taken over by a US consortium, maybe we have Robbie Williams on at half-time. Fuck me, don't. Andrew, where are the Gabidons, the Benyunes, the Collins and the Etheringtons? There must be some hidden gems somewhere. Let's hope there are. Randy. Hammer 75, they sold Lacroix to Chelsea. That's who it was. So they got the money, but I hope they don't pursue it. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? Kelly. Kretinsky has said he's not interested in being majority shareholder. That's why he didn't buy more shares from Gold. So therefore, I think he'll take up his stake in the first round of the preemptive process. Now it takes 9% off the number of shares available. If only that happens, that means Kretinsky's sharehold goes up to 36% overall, still behind Sullivan's, but 36%. And that means only, let's go back to the chart I had. Let's go and have a look. So let's say in the first stage of the preemptive process that Kretinsky is the only one that goes in for buying any shares. He buys 9% of the shares, takes him up to 36% ownership. And then all that's left will be is 16.1% of sharehold if no one else buys any shares in the first stage. Will 16.1% be enough for Staveley to still be interested in West Ham? I don't know, is the answer. That's why this is all intriguing. So after the first stage of this whole preemption process, let's see what happens there. Andrew, I'd go all out for Cardiff defender who wants to come. Wait and see. That's Lawler. Is that his name? I think it's Lawler. Lawler. Treating us like the ugly bird at the end of the night. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? GP. The paper said that they expect Nils to have an influence over Sutar, so maybe we will go for him anyway. Sutar, interesting, good player, very injury prone, but let's see. Marky, Disasi is Lingard all over again, trying to convince a player that doesn't want to come. 2 weeks to make up his mind is taking the piss. Move on to other time. I'm inclined to agree with you there, mate. Hammers Football, totally agreed on that, Randy. They've got to be right, not just to please the fans. They have to have done something. What did Randy say? Randy, Tony, I think once the first signings come in, I think there'll be a domino effect, and then we'll get the players in. I'm sure you would agree. I hope we get the right quality and positions we need. Absolutely, totally agree. Marky, looking at cheap foreign players who don't know the championship, not the time to gamble on these players. Well, you don't know. Some of them could be right for the championship. Bazza, the guy has medical lust as long as my arm. Will never learn. Who is that? Randy, again, Tony, hopefully just the correct positions, but hopefully we do address our pace issues. It's exactly what we need. We need pace and we need creativity. And creativity whilst hoping we can add some extra steel in midfield. I think we've got enough extra steel, which surprises me why we're going to get rid of parts. But creativity and pace is absolutely what we need. Renegade Dieng is going to be another sick note. Glenn, he'll be interested in his first training session. Christian, I don't understand why we don't go into the Scandinavian market. Loads of talent there and will be willing to join the championship side. And that's what Niels Koppen apparently is good at. The Belgian market, the Scandinavian market. So let's hope, all these players that we keep hearing about. I did say it right at the start of the transfer window. I bet we get players in that no one's heard of. Because that's what Niels Koppen is actually really good at doing. Niels Koppen is good at identifying talent that is just ready to come into probably a level of the championship. Build them up, come in at young, 21, 22 years of age, do really well, and hopefully we go up and they go up with us, or then we end up, unfortunately, selling them off to Premier League clubs who are snooping around. That's what he's good at. So hopefully all these players that we're linked to might not come to fruition because Niels Koppen has got a completely different list up his sleeve. Andrew, I know we're a championship, but there are lots of names being bandied around. Makes me so uninspiring. Steve, don't forget AFCON regarding African players. We need backups as well. Kevin, good evening, mate. I've listened to Nick on Claret and Booze. The reason why we've not signed players is because we're skint. Not true. We've got money. We've got some money. We haven't got a lot of money, but we've got some money. GP. Claret and Booze, one of the Gallagher brothers hates Souček, doesn't he? How many points drop out of Randy, Toby, I think I'm just hoping this approach that we're doing will pay off. I think after this season, Tony, I don't think we'll be more efficient going into the future transfer. I think we will be more efficient going into future. Well, the efficiency is meant to start this summer. I think Jordan Henderson would have been worth a punt due to his leadership qualities and experience. Off to Chelsea. Imagine that. Going off to Chelsea. Has anyone mentioned that podcast yet? Yeah, more than enough times. Who else have we got? Trying to get to catch up so I can let you all go and have a good night's sleep. Hammer Football. Still, I think the club are stalling on the pot still until they have a replacement lined up. I hope we don't sell him. I actually genuinely do hope we do not get rid of him. I hope he stays, to be honest with you, and we end up trying to sell someone else. He's only left because it's Chelsea. They agreed mutual contract cancellation. Gary, hello, Gary. How are you, mate? If they pull down the stadium, we could end up in Romford. Fuck me. That means I'd have to actually end up going to Romford. The number of times I've avoided going to Romford for a curry, Gary. And then imagine if they put a stadium there. I'll see you Saturday, Gary. I hope you're there, mate. Randy, Tony, there'll be a bright future ahead. Feels like we're just short-term uncertainty, but long-term, once we get through this sticky period, I do believe we will come out the better for it. Daniela, I don't think it's a good transfer market. Clubs wanting too much money for average players. Yeah, but hasn't that been the case forever? Renegade. Any news about Morgan Whittaker from Middlesbrough? No, I'm afraid not. Andrew, always desperate for our kid. This is the thing, though, Renegade. We keep being linked to all these players. And like someone else mentioned earlier on, and then we get disappointed when we don't buy these players. When, in fact, 9 times out of 10, we're probably never interested in them in the first place. Mark, good seafood restaurant in Boyers, Gifford. Tell me where that is. I like seafood. GP, a West Ham United fan I know stays away from West Ham social because of the drama. At least we have Stell and Tony. Thank you. Randy, Daz, can we beat Portsmouth despite the recent performances? I think we can, but we've got to start seeing something different. But hopefully we can make this squad stronger. Let's hope we can. Let's scroll down, try and get to the end. If we buy 5 of Portsmouth's best players a few days before the game, we might win. God, there you go. Andrew, I think Wrexham and Birmingham are going to be a danger this season. Dark horses, automatic promotion. Wrexham will go for it. Absolutely. Mark. Sullivan going to the Portsmouth game club, providing extra security, 50,000 being played. Let him have it, guys. I don't think he'll go. I've read that earlier on. I'm not so sure he's that stupid to do that. Jack, the surrounding real estate and development vastly eclipse the 600 million valuation of West Ham. Our club is a second thought in the scheme of things. That's how I started off the show. I don't think I've said anything that's likely to change my mind on that, to be quite honest with you. Harry, a club I used to frequent in the 90s, that Fresh in Brighton. My mate Steve was a resident DJ there. Progressive House. I promise I'll watch it. The number of people that have mentioned this to me, I mean, I've got no choice now, have I? I think it's about the 500, no disrespect, West Ham, about the 500th time I've heard that. John, I personally think that Staveley will buy the shares. Why would she offer way over the top? And I'm sure the Gold wanted to keep 10%. I think this is subliminally. Right. First of all, it's got to go through the process, John, regardless. She can't just come in and buy. The current shareholders have an option to buy first. Let's see how much are left there. Gold wanted to keep the 10%. Well, she's fucked that right off, hasn't she? Because she's accepted an offer for the whole 25%. And thirdly, it's got nothing to do with David Sullivan. Nothing. This is me, Hammers Green Street. Oh, is it? Why did I always think Hammers Green Street was you, Clive? I hope you're well, mate. I haven't seen you for a while. I hope all is well. So Hammers Green Street, I keep calling you Clive. Sorry about that. It's the guy in the Henry Winter that's the knowledge and has worked with her. Oh, he's worked with her. Okay, interesting as well. Trodge. I'm looking forward to starting the season with Ward-Prowse rotating from the left wing to central defensive midfield. Harry, I used the QR code. It took me to a video called Running a Football for Dummies. Good evening to you, Paul. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Jake, we'll end up playing our home games in someone's backyard. Mark, I'm getting there. Mark, a minute passed by Anton Chekhov. A minute passed by Anton Chekhov. I didn't understand that. Hammers Football, thank you for drop. Good luck, mate. Thank you for joining in. Much appreciated. We'll get that show done, I promise you. Mark Starr, they call the West Ham v Portsmouth game the Avram Grant derby. Higgins, we should offer a short-term deal to Jadon Sancho, a rogue to do a job on. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? What was his salary, though? 300 grand or something a week? Or something to that effect, I think it was. Disarcy's entitled to wait for a higher level than Championship. Agreeing in principle isn't what I call taking the piss. I don't know if he's even agreed in principle, to be honest with you, Paul, but I want him back. I don't care. I want him back. Stel, what's wrong with Romford? That's my hometown. My dad's family were popular. Paul, nothing wrong with Romford. I can't say anything about Romford because I've never been there. So it's just a standing joke because whenever the lads I go to football with, if they're going straight back home, they all live there or in that area. And they go, "Are you coming back for a curry?" And I'm like, "Why would I go to the other side of London for a curry when I live in the West London? Why would I do that?" So I guess if they put a football stadium there, West Ham United Stadium, I've got no choice, have I? Life. Good evening to you. As much as Newcastle fans love Staveley, she spent money on players and got us into trouble. Anderson, Minte had to be sold off for financial fair play. There you go. So there you go. It's not the grass is always greener. Randy, GP with their new manager will still think they will sign a centre back, but it'll be interesting if they continue from Glasner's success. I think they will be okay. It's that Crystal Palace. I'm down to the bottom. Paul, Darjeeling Tandoori, the best Indian in Romford. I'll ask if that is the one. Randy, but Fulham, Everton, 3 promoted teams could get the possible relegation contenders. Newcastle think will be okay. Andrew, looks like we're going into the season with Kilman partnership, Dinos in defence. He actually played all right in pre-season. Thank you, people. Really much appreciated. It's been a whirlwind. Really appreciate you joining, giving your opinions. Always valued. Doesn't matter whether they're, we never have to agree. Like Marky Boy, I really appreciate Marky Boy because at least he says what he thinks. I may not agree with a lot of the stuff that some people say, but I'll put the comments up there because that's what this show is about. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much for watching. Oh God, let's get a few signings in this week so we can all start, calming down, and we'll see what happens with the ownership of this football club. Until then, I'll be back very soon. And I'll be back very soon.